Mark Kern, aka Grummz, has been coasting on the success of his one or two actual highlights of his career. The rest is a sad tale of an old man desperately clinging to relevance. He's worked as an associate producer on StarCraft, the producer on Diablo 2, and was a team lead in World of Warcraft. I'm not going to dispute or deny the fact that he worked on these titles. That's documented. He's in the credits. I find it fascinating that he's barely ever mentioned by former co-workers in a positive light, and that's fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating to think about. Since leaving Blizzard, he has been coasting on that success and to build clout in the reactionary online space, joining Gamergate 1 before leaving because he was too transphobic at the time. He continued coasting off the back of this and used the petition to bring classic WoW back and use that to leverage it into even more clout. That's another one of his big career highlights. He organizes harassment campaigns against developers that he thinks are doing things a little too wokely, and by a little too wokely, I mean doing it while being too much of a woman or being maybe too brown for his tastes. I keep saying he's coasting, and he's fucking coasting. Our boy Mark Kern has been nothing but a failure since leaving Blizzard Entertainment in 2005, reduced to tweeting 100 times a day that Assassin's Creed Shadows is too woke because they've taken a historical figure and embellished certain portions of their life in a game that's never been about historical accuracy to begin with. He keeps saying that he's winning the war on the woke mind virus, and this is the year that we will actually defeat wokeness in video games. All the while, he's just beating his meat over Eve from Stellar Blade. He's never actually played Stellar Blade, by the way. Before you try and chime in about Assassin's Creed, by the way, your parents don't love you. It's a genuinely fun and interesting fact that since leaving Blizzard, Mark Kern has never released a successful game. In 2005, he co-founded a studio called Red 5 with 3 other former Blizzard employees. He played a significant role in that development and was made CEO in 2008. If you know anything about Mark, if you've heard of like a little bit of him before, you will understand that he has allegations of overspending and promotional campaigns for Firefall. You've heard of the Firefall bus? That was made by West Coast Customs. You know what West Coast Customs is, you've been online. That shit cost $3 million. He purchased not 1, not 2, but 3 red epic dragons for his Red 5 Studios. This is a video production arm that's completely unnecessary for a video game developer, and my rough calculation is that including inflation, that is 40 to 50 grand per camera in modern day money. 150 grand on cameras that are not fucking needed. You don't need to shoot 4K footage in 2013 to document your video game. Red 5 employees describe Mark Kern as being prone to extended absences and having erratic, impulsive, and very disruptive leadership styles. Anyway, Firefall was an absolute flop because Mark Kern doesn't actually know how to make games at all. I don't think it's particularly controversial to hold the opinion that World of Warcraft succeeded despite this guy and all the time he did spend on his little side projects. Again, I have receipts for this. Anyway, in 2013, Mark was removed as CEO from Red 5 by the board of directors of the company. Let's start the scamming people out of their money counter, shall we? Kern founded the studio MEK Entertainment in 2014. He raised $1 million in seed funding for an Oculus Rift MMO. Guess what happened? You've got 3 attempts. Correct, he ran with the money. The game never existed. You know what did exist is a tax bill from the state of California for over $250,000 for 3 years that he never paid his taxes, and now they have a publicly viewable lien against him for this. This didn't stop him from founding another company called Crixer Labs. He's not the owner on paper though. That's actually a completely different family member, which I will get to. Mark, or whatever little pervert foot soldier of his that's watching this is all publicly accessible information from the Secretary of State in California. This is all part of the Chamber of Commerce. This is all public register that will be kept on file until long after you are dust. Anyway, with Crixer Lab now up and running, he obviously got the itch again, and in 2016, he started crowdfunding a game called Ember, a spiritual successor to Firefall. He can't let that one go. That is his baby. He did an interview with a YouTuber in 2024 claiming about 600K has been raised so far for Ember. Guess where that shit is? It's DOA. There's no meaningful updates for any actual length of time. It's very haphazard. It's very obvious that he's neglecting this for his Twitter rants. It's a Discord purged of dissent and a subreddit full of people disappointed that he's gone down this absurd little culture war path. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty weeds for hours explaining what an awful game this is. There's other YouTubers that have. It's on the screen, just look at it. Our boy is planning to fundraise more, and he's calling this just a vertical slice, and he wants to do a Kickstarter one day. I've seen more coherent games out of weekend-long game jams. It's not slanderous, libelous, or any other kind of word to say that this man, Mark Edward Kern, head developer of Crixer Labs, is basically scamming people out of their money. It took him months to texture 3 models and give them each 3 frames of attack animation. There is no meaningful work being done on this game outside of reposting old AI-generated art, old commissioned art, and reposting old models that he had made 10 years ago. This man, all he does is log into the Discord, post, "This will be a great year for Ember," log off, start posting on Twitter while he deletes his old website and removes the ability to unsubscribe to long-suffering backers. There are people in there who are afraid that they're going to die before this game comes out, and they are desperate for just a taste of Firefall once again, and all he does is ignore them. You might be wondering, if this guy doesn't work on his game and all he does is post, again, it took him 6 months to texture a fucking model, what does he do? And he had other business ventures, and he had them for a very long time. What I have in my hands is, it's probably the most complete biography of Mark Edward Kern, aka Grummz, that you're ever going to get. So Mark isn't 100% into the game dev and culture war life. No, he has other side projects. There's objective proof of companies he has registered and deregistered, websites that he has worked on, money that he has taken from people for these other projects under other names, but it all comes back to him. Once again, this is publicly accessible information. When he found out people were looking for this, he has deleted the LinkedIn, Instagram, DeviantArt, clips for sale, Twitter account. Every public-facing piece of information that we can find has now been deleted. While you, Mark Edward Kern, were beating your meat raw over anime children's navels, we were finding out more about you than anyone should. Draw your blade, pervert.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what I am calling the Goonernomicon. Now, this isn't a magic book full of spells that you can only cast one-handed. This is a documentation of Mark Edward Kern, the first in a series of some of the worst onanists, some of the worst masturbators in the gaming sphere, who are trying to mold and manipulate gaming culture to return to a time when they were 12 years old and all they had in life to look forward to is extra cheese sticks and a woman in a bikini. It will become pretty obvious that these men just think with their erections. People forget that hating is an inherently valuable form of critical thinking. I have learned tens of thousands of facts via hating. If you are truly hating, you will take all the time you need to learn everything about the subject you are hating on, just to hate better, deeper, efficiently, effectively. This is a law of nature. This is a law of hating. The only thing that stopped this from coming out earlier is no one has been motivated enough to pay a data aggregator $11, and there are multiple data aggregators that have this information just sitting out there in the open. The story here is that Grummz is a man who has aggressively pursued his personal interests at great cost to his family and his career. The biggest crime here is that anime babes with huge bazongas are his main interest. Actually, no, that's not the biggest crime, it's tax fraud. We'll get there. All of these points are archived in the description with source links. In 1968, Grummz comes into the world. Mark Edward Kern, he is a former video game executive. 1992, he gets his bachelor's degree in cognitive science from the University of Rochester. He eventually gets his doctorate from Boston University School of Law with a specialization in IP. He goes on to found Qualia Games in Boston, developing a top-down 2D shooter called Crixer. This is with Blizzard's backing, and he loves the name Crixer. Crixer is eventually cancelled by Blizzard, they do pull the funding, and Qualia shuts down. There's not enough money to pay the payroll. Blizzard used this as a way to get some talent, and Mark is unfortunately the only one to take them up on that offer. He eventually moves on to a role at Blizzard. He serves as an associate producer for StarCraft, works on StarCraft 64 and Diablo 2 as a producer. He's in the credits. I'm not going to dispute the fact that he worked on these games. This is part of his career. March 27, 2001, Foxyfighter.com is purchased by Mark Kern. Ignore the country of France. That is where Gandhi SAS is located. They are a French company, but Mark Kern is the registrant. Now, Mark Kern isn't a unique name, but there's later information that basically proves that this is him. Now, what is Foxyfighter.com? To put it as simply as possible, Foxyfighter.com is sexy catfight hentai. It is a website run by a persona called Debbi Chan, but Debbi Chan is Mark. And that's underselling it. He has, over the course of 20 plus years, collected a variety of live-action catfights, drawn hentai catfights, quite a bit of like run-of-the-mill porn, However, there are multiple stories where his persona, Debbi, violently sexually abuses women. It's been scrubbed at this point. As soon as Grummz got a sniff that people were investigating this, he ripped down as much as he could. Unfortunately, we archived most of it. The email addresses that we found share passwords when searching a pwn database, which is a database of dumped passwords and email addresses. We found a Foxyfighter email sharing the same password as Mark Kern's email. Fascinating, huh? We also found this one. I'm just leaving that out there. Moving on. July 21st, 2001 is the earliest capture of foxyfighters.com. On February 28, 2002, Debbi wins second place in the third Seeking Femmefights story competition, so he is actively making this stuff. And on March 24, 2003, we get RussianCatfights.com. This is another site owned by Mark. He confirms it on a Twitter post. March 22nd, 2004, we get an archive of Latina catfights. This is also owned by Mark. June 28, 2004, access to Foxyfighter goes for about $10 a month. Posts are stories and drawn artwork. November 13, 2004, World of Warcraft releases. This is effectively the pinnacle of Mark's career. He's credited as team lead. He says he works on drafting the TOS and EULA and does licensing with China. He leaves Blizzard shortly afterwards. He says he's going to go and be with some family, so I don't blame him. Like, that was a very hard process, even if he was apparently a bit of a shithead. Look, no one's spoken about him in a good light at Blizzard, really. Like, not in a way that I think a team lead should in this role. Very shortly afterwards, him and a few other Blizzard employees found Red 5 Studios. So he obviously had a couple of friends who wanted to work with him, but he's not really mentioned in a lot of these retrospective books. It's real fascinating. June 15th, 2005, RussianCatfights.com is closed due to changes in US law. And on August 18th, 2005, LatinaCatfights.com is closed to the same changes. So I don't want to point out that this is anything egregiously sinister. This was a change that was required in the porn industry to have verified records of your performers. Before this law, those records were not kept. Blizzard in 2008 had some problems. People were stealing breast milk from the fridge. This is attributed to Mark. People call him the breast milk bandit. He wasn't working there at the time, and he's not the breast milk bandit. It's funny to think he is. Please keep doing it. Like, it's very funny. But we found dozens of breast milk photos on foxyfighter.com, so smoke there's fire, huh, Mark? October 17th, 2008, as forum admin on freecatfights.com, Debbi recommends a Japanese breast milking series to another forum member and reveals that he owned latinacatfights.com. Now, you might notice that this is forum admin with a Batman avatar. This was scrubbed about a day ago. But this is him. April 23rd, 2009, Red 5 lays off 30 people. Reports of a studio purchase emerge. March 10th, 2010, that studio purchase comes through. A company called The Nine announces acquisition of Red 5 Studios, and Grummz becomes CEO. May 19th, 2010, Grummz buys a Leica S2 and a 70mm lens from OC Camera. Now, I bring this up because we match metadata from some of the live action photos on Foxyfighter to this exact camera and lens types that we know he owns. September 3rd, 2010, Red 5 announces Firefall at PAX. September 20th, 2011, he goes and advertises Foxyfighter.com and freecatfights.com on r/comics, which probably not the best place to do it, but doesn't even get a single piece of engagement. That's kind of sad. Come on, man, you're better posted than this. Even I can admit that, but dog. March 7th, 2011, he asks for models to star in fighting videos, so he's starting to move into the live action space at this point. And March 21st, 2011, model Megan Renee posts, "I adore you, Mark," on his Model Mayhem profile. And that's his Model Mayhem profile, Studio Foxyfighter. You see that little boxing glove image up the top right next to his profile? That one is an exact match to a camera lens I know he owns and a camera that he owns. Just a thought. October 5th, 2011, an IGN interview mentions Firefall will release soon. And he goes on to film a video of Randy Moore and Kimberly Jane. In January 18th, 2012, Red 5 skips E3 to protest SOPA. Mark is really big on hating SOPA, and he skips it and donates 50 grand, which was their E3 fund, to found the League for Gamers instead. League for Gamers is ostensibly a non-profit founded by Mark Kern. They style themselves as an advocacy group for video games, consumer-centric versus industry-focused. They represent the gamer. Red 5 paid this charity $50,000. He wired himself 50 grand from his slowly failing game studio, which I'm guessing is all that was left in the couch cushions at this point. Never logged the transaction with the state of California. This should be logged. It's not in the logs where we're checking. We can see other logs, but it's not there. He then waits for California to dissolve the non-profit, then started a for-profit Delaware Corp with the same name. That's bad. Why was this allowed? Is this all above board tax-wise? I'm sure the California AG would love to know about this and the rest of your tax dodges. June 6, 2012, Grummz offers his opinion on the Leica S2 and Nikon D3S, mentions using them for the last 2 years. This is, again, just here as an aside, he used these cameras and 100% owned them. They are a match for Foxyfighter's content in the unscrubbed metadata. July 4th, 2013, you remember the Firefall bus? Well, that's shown at Anime Expo LA. July 9th, 2013, Firefall finally enters open beta. They are rapidly running out of money though, that's gonna become obvious. December 19th, 2013, he gets removed as CEO, they vote him out. July 29th, 2014, Firefall finally releases. September 22nd, 2014, Mark is after his next venture. He has made MEK Entertainment, Mark Edward Kern Entertainment. It is in Aliso Viejo, which is where everything that he does is based. They are an indie game company looking to leverage the blockchain, maybe, 10 years too early for that hype, but I respect the forward-facing vision. MEKentertainment.com launches at this point. They are registered to MEK Entertainment Inc. However, looking at those business entries, it looks like he never actually registered it as a company called MEK Entertainment. The game from the seed funding never really materializes. He gets ousted from MEK Entertainment and they go on to make a game called Voxelnauts, but Mark never really does anything with his money, and we'll get to some allegations about that money later on. June 17th, 2015, Grummz announces that he's joining Gamergate. He's mad. He's always mad. He's mad and he's horny. July 7th, 2015, Debbi Chan LLC is registered. Mark Kern's mother is the registered CEO. And imagine having your mother being the CEO of your porn company. Come on, man. Have some pride. August 8th, 2015, MEK Entertainment changes to Retro Ronin Inc., which is a site about Voxelnauts. No Mark. Mark is no longer working for Retro Ronin. And on September 14th, 2015, Crixa Labs LLC is registered. This is the same address as Debbi Chan LLC. Interesting. My question here is why? It seems legally sketchy to register two LLCs under your 80-year-old mum's name. My working theory is that this is a tax shelter and it allows him to report that he earns 0 or less than the personal income required to be taxable by law, and then he can report any additional earnings to his LLCs. He can then write taxes down by saying his revenue did not exceed his annual expenses. He can say his business spent more than they earned, not pay a dime on the money. This is classic tax fraud. Again, California AG would love to have this information. October 19th, 2015, Debbi floats the idea of creating an online catfight game, likely thing for Mark to do. November 2nd, 2015, the Patreon for Foxyfighters is launched. It maxes out at $57 a month and it's eventually paused in 2020. November 16th, 2015, Cameroon Wildebeest is a prolific artist working in the catfight scene. They've passed away. His hard drive is too damaged to recover and a terabyte of catfight art is lost forever. November 20th, 2015, Mark's wife disappears from social media as far as we can tell at this point. Until then, she'd been quite a big cheerleader for him in the online space. So, just kind of putting it in here as a marker, really. December 9th, 2015, he leaves Gamergate after being kind of too transphobic. And he does drop a couple of F slurs, so good job. No, sorry, he doesn't drop the F-slurs. People on Kotaku and Action do, but they're mad that look, these people are all sad and need jobs. December 17th, 2015, Mark does interview to promote his free speech organization. He's still trying to keep League of Gamers going at this point, and Voxelnaught's Twitter comes out and alleges that Mark stole money from Voxelnaught. So that's where that money went from that seed funding. Jan 16th, 2016, on freecatfights.com, they've been filming fights with a Red Dragon camera. Now that's interesting. Are these the same Red Dragon cameras that Red 5 had in their studio? I raised this earlier in the video. They had 3 Red Dragon cameras in their possession worth $50,000 each. That's the whole rig, that's not just the brain. The brain's about 20. We have evidence that Mark was in possession of Red accessories at his personal lockup in California after he had left Red 5. Are they the cameras? Did he abscond with them, or did he purchase them with some of his pilfered MEK Entertainment money? I'm not alleging anything specific here, I am asking questions. What is fascinating is that he had access to the same cameras that Red did after he left Red 5. Remember that tax fraud discussion? It's at this point that Mark is hit with a lien for $265,133.88 for unpaid tax from the years 2011, 2012, and 2013. Excuse me for messing up the 2013 to 2015 on this slide, I'm not going to fix it. May 2nd, 2016, Debbi Chan posts on Twitter looking for models, promises good conditions and a full makeup and hair crew. May 25th, 2016, Kern goes to the Firefall subreddit telling people they should kill the game so that he can buy back the IP for cheap, which is kind of sad to me. It's still an active game at this point, but you're actively trying to kill it so you can buy and get it back because you're mad you got ousted. He can't let it go, can he? May 29th, 2016, he delivers a petition to restore vanilla World of Warcraft to Blizzard. This is kind of his other big claim to fame in modern day. And June 11th, 2016, the legal compliance page for Foxyfighter.com lists the mailing address for Debbi Chan LLC as the same address that Crixer Labs is registered to. I've censored it here, but that is fascinating. You can't deny that Debbi Chan, Foxyfighters, that's Mark. It is Mark. June 27th, 2016, Make Ember, a spiritual successor to Firefall, is posted on change.org by Mark. That does hit 4,700 supporters, so, let's make Ember. He has camera equipment. He posts camera equipment to Flickr. Lenses here are a match to the photos shot for Foxyfighters. And we see the red accessories I mentioned earlier. This is all in the same location, all shot on the same iPhone. Just the thought. August 29th, 2016, Ember, massive planetary wargame Indiegogo campaign is launched. $5,000 goal, raises $23,000. September 14th, 2016, Ember Milestone 2 campaign is funded on Indiegogo. November 29th, 2016, puts his first adult video on clips for sale. This is his account and it's linked on the Foxyfighter site. This is him, this is what he is selling. Note, an anonymous user eventually replies, "Is this a Mark Kern product? Deplorable." I want to know who this person was. What did they know? This is in 2017. Someone knew about this 8 years ago? How did they know? Anyway, July 3rd, 2017, MEK Entertainment is formally closed, and July 5th, Ember is funded for $170,000. So that's $114,000 between both Indiegogo and PayPal donations. That's over $20,000 goal. Grummz promises a playable mock-up in 6 months. Kickstarter for a full game a month or two after that. Anyway, September 13th, 2017, Mark's mum issues a certificate of cancellation for Debbi Chan LLC. So, see ya, Debbi Chan. Thanks for your service, Mark's mum. And on July 24th, 2018, Ember begins selling upgrades to M3 backers as a limited time offer until the Kickstarter later this year. May 20th, 2018, a child support motion is filed by the state of California. Mark and his wife had been separated for a while. He had referred to her as his ex-wife in the Ember Discord, but they had reconciled at this point, according to another Twitter post from him, but this is obvious proof that they did separate at one point. And do you think the reason she left is because she found out about the adult entertainment gig, or maybe she found out about the tax fraud? Just a question. The timing makes sense with her leaving, him trying to go all in on the Debbi Chan LLC, much to think about. So, March 1st, 2019, Debbi resurfaces. Like, this is when this was archived, but obviously the post was on January 3rd, 2019. They come back on freecatfights.com and ask if there's a demand for Foxyfighters to come back. 7th of March, 2019. Well, Mark admits that his original 3D artist left, and he's had to teach himself how to do 3D modeling and build the main character of Ember. He's never made a game this way before, so he's trying to do it all without any outside investors, and at this point you should have realized it's a scam, team. So, no one is a full-time employee on Ember. This is a solo project. An MMO is a solo project for him, and come on, team. Anyway, 28th of June 2019, Ember first playable is achieved. Gamers. Finally. 20th of August 2019, Foxyfighter blog is offline. The DNS update needs to be required. Like, that's pretty simple, but this takes him a while. On the 5th of February 2021, Foxyfighter is back online. Well done. Grummz is kind of wanking around at this point. He claims that he's not working on the game due to family reasons, but he's still just kind of shitposting on Twitter. And on 2nd of August 2021, Debbi releases a story called The Date. So while he's meant to be working on his crowdfunded game, he's actually just written adult literature on the crowdfunder's dime. And this is where that like violent sexual fantasy stuff comes in. 1st of December 2021, the Foxyfighter URL lapses, a domain squatter grabs it for a hot minute. And 2022-2023, Grummz continues to radicalize himself on twitter.com. The rate of his posting rapidly increases as he tries to make himself one of the big culture warriors, and he's deleted a lot of that stuff now. A lot of his tweets aren't in existence back past 2023, but his rate of tweeting has done nothing but increase even since then. 30th of Jan 2024, Debbi makes her last login on freecatfights.com. God bless. Foxyfighter URL, still squatted. 26th of March 2024, Grummz tweets, "Bring back Rumble Roses." This is relevant because that's also Debbi's favorite game. 25th of March 2025, we are made aware of the Foxyfighters connection, and at this point archival attempts begin. Twitter user Juniper makes contact with Grummz for an interview request. He says yes. He is drunk at the time. He is drunk posting through it because he's mad that he got ratioed by Assassin's Creed. And when he wakes up the next day, Grummz blocks the hosts of Western Kabuki and begins to delete his past history as Foxyfighting and Debbi Chan. It's Jova. Never been more Jova. So now what? This wasn't hard to find. We have archived all of it, so I'm going to be very careful with how I phrase the next things. The rest of it's all just been questions and statements of fact. Most of the previous portion, pure fact of record. Mark Kern is the owner of Foxyfighters and has a pattern of consistently ignoring his day job to focus on it. He has a history of mismanaging money. He has potentially committed tax fraud that the California AG will be very interested in. He has consistently lied about progress on his games and has failed to make anything commercially successful since he was a team lead at Blizzard. It is my opinion that these games at Blizzard succeeded despite him rather than because of him. He does not know how to code, he does not know how to texture models, his animations are based on 2 keyframes with 3 other frames of animation. He will always have an excuse for his failure after failure after failure. This man is sad. If you keep funding him or supporting him, you are willingly throwing your weight behind someone who has deceived and defrauded thousands of people while trying to position himself as a savior of gaming. There are people in the Ember Discord who have said they are afraid they are going to die before the game comes out. This is all for the purposes of lining his pocket and making some really bad pornographic material. And I feel sad for the guys that are about to die. They are just desperate to play this game. They want to play something that reminds them of when life was better, and he just ignores them. His only goal right now is to get engagement from Elon Musk. He is deep-throating that man so hard that his throat is going to recognize the veins. That's his life now. He's not making a game. He keeps saying a Kickstarter is coming, this is a great year for Ember. It's not. He does not know how to make a game. His one hope is that Daddy Elon notices him and throws a few $1 million at him to hire people who actually know how to make a game. This man is a failed dev, a failed pornographer, a failed husband with a fragile mind, a fragile ego, and a fragile life.
That's the timeline. And I'm not going to make value judgments over the rest of it. That's for you to decide. I have laid out the facts as I see them. It is my opinion, and I'm going to couch this as being my opinion. Mark Kern is a narcissistic loser who has a publicly stated fetish for lolicon navels and a hidden fetish for women catfighting. He has the ear, at least occasionally, of the richest and most powerful man in the world. What he gets out of this video is what he's going to get. People are going to know everything they need to know about him, and they can make decisions from there. Mark runs targeted harassment campaigns against devs that he deems as woke, and he buys his own likes on X.com when he gets ratioed by Assassin's Creed's community manager. He has pilfered and absconded with at least $1.6 million of funding for not one, but 2 failed games, and we have ample evidence that he's also absconded with extremely expensive video equipment to shoot his adult video side hustles. He is nothing if not a sad, lonely man who is desperate to leave a mark, any mark on the world, because he knows his career as a game dev is worth less than a cold turd on a hot dog bun. You now know everything about him. You know his business dealings, his motivations for hustling people out of $1.6 million. He is, in my opinion, a pervert of the highest order who has taken advantage of the goodwill of his fans, taken advantage of their bubbling rage, and he has taken advantage of his own family. And I think more people should know and understand this. Have a nice day.